and I'll grab it and start. Yes, sir. Hello. All right. So we will start the event in 2 minutes. Everyone, please get seated. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this 7th year of the Florida Data Science for Social Good Big Reveal. So I'm Dan Richard. I'm a professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of North Florida, and I co-direct this Florida DSSG program with my colleague Karthik. Introduce him.
Right. So, and I'm Dr. Karthikeyan Umapati. I go by Karthik. So those who are new to me, think of four-wheel drive car and a tick mark. You know, say it together, it'll be good. When you're thinking about it, think about electric car. That makes me more happy, right? All right. So with that, so we want to introduce our advisory board members. I think some of them are in here. So if you are our board member, please could you rise up for others to see. So we have Matt Bassard, who's co-founder from NLP Logic and going from Advocacy Legal, and Ari from Jacksonville Jaguar, and Mike Vitti from PGA Tour. Thank you. You can sit down. So. their advice and their help are very important for us. It's, in fact, at least 2 of the projects that we picked this year was highly influenced by their advisors. So, and they also help us in getting the sponsorship, helping us to network with right individuals, both from the industry side and the nonprofit community partner side too. So thank you for all of their support. Right. So the other important players are our industry Sherpas and faculty lead. So, and many of you know that we do this internship as a 12-week program. So, and we are coaching our interns in an intensive way every week. So, Dan and I, we meet with them on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on a daily basis for the 12-week. So every other week, they meet with this group of experts. Some of them are experts in machine learning, data mining. Some of them are experts in problem understanding. Some of them are experts in visualization techniques. And then we have the academic faculty members who are experts in the subject matters. Right, so they come and help us to understand the content, help us to understand specific algorithms and the specific techniques that we may be using, and help students to understand how to effectively use it. And the process when they're trying to do are very efficient in nature. Right? So data science as a field is new. There is a lot of trial and errors is there. So they, this group of individuals help us to ensure those trial and error and the experiments we may do reach us to solutions faster, because it's 12 weeks and we wouldn't have randomly reached to the correct solution, and that takes time. So their help is very fundamentally important in reasons why we've been successful and why we are successful this year too. So if any of the industry Sherpas and faculty leads are in here in this room, please stand up for a few seconds. Thank you. Thanks for all of your support. And many of them are watching online in YouTube today. All right, so now the reasons why we are here, the 12 folks why we are here. So you can see that majority of our interns are from UNF, but we do have interns from other parts of Florida and as well as the outside of Florida. So our intern selection process-wise, we kind of figure out what is the project wants, what is the needs, and then we are looking at who are the interns, what are the skill sets we have, and our selection of the projects and selection of interns is those, making those both things work together. So it's a multi-criteria decision process in that sense. So it's not like we're selecting project and then interns. It's both of them are selected at the same time. So in that sense, when we select every intern, we have a very specific purpose and reasons why we pick them. Right? And then during the 12-week, we kind of focus on it, own on it, both on their strengths and the weaknesses, and we make them grow throughout the process. So the 12 individuals that we guys going to hear more about, Venkata is from University of South Florida. He is business analytics student, he is master student. He will be graduating soon, and he will be looking for a data analyst, data scientist job. Then we have Zaina Baker. She will be graduating from a psychology program, and she's going to get into PhD, doing PhD in assessment techniques, right? Then we have Rebecca. She's an undergraduate student. She is health science. She's going to be doing internship in Department of Health this year soon, and then she will be having a full-time job in Princeton area. Then she will be, after that, getting into PhD programs as well. So we have Devon, who is also from South Florida, and he also will be graduating, and his aspirations is to get into data engineering positions. Then we have Mohammed Anwar, who is UNF statistics student, master student. He also will be graduating soon and will be looking for a data scientist job. So Kevin is a political science, public policy master student at UNF. He will be also going into in similar area PhD program. After he is interested in academic positions, but he also thinking about certain political career aspirations too. Right. So, and we have Shanmugh, who is the out-of-state student from South Dakota. And soon enough, tomorrow you'll be going back from warm weather to the cold weather soon. He is a computer science master student, and he will be graduating soon in the fall, and will be start looking for jobs in data scientist positions. Ula, who is master psychology student, she also will be soon graduating, and her interest is also to do PhD, and she'll be doing PhD in human factors area. Michael, who is Jacksonville native, studied in dual schools, did bachelor in UNF, but he did masters, is doing masters now in data science in West Florida. And he also will be graduating and will be looking for data science scientist position. Lisa, who's master's in statistics in UNF, and she is also will be graduating and will be looking for data scientist, statistical modeling type of position. Sam, master's, again, psychology student. He also will be graduating soon and will be looking into PhD options. Right? Then John, last but not least, he graduated in the spring 24 from UNF Computer Science, and yes, he is also in market for job. Right. So you can see how many of them are available, all talented students, coached well. So again, anyone who's in here or listening in or will be watching the recording, you can reach out to them, right? So yeah, let's give them big hands so you will be soon hearing from all of them. Right. So with that, I would like to invite Dan to really explain our historical overview about our program.
So as I said, we've been doing this program for 7 years. Really, just proud and overjoyed to continue to work in this field, in this area. So since 2007, we have worked with over 63 interns. And as Karthik mentioned, or as you saw in the list, we don't just work with students who are computer science or statistics, because there's this domain knowledge that is important, and so we work with students that are in the social sciences as well. 42 of those 63 were from UNF, and so we also recruit students from not just all across Florida, but all across the country. And we've worked, since that time, I've worked with 28 community partners. And most of our community partners have been here in Duval, but you can see that we stretch and partner with organizations all across the I-95 corridor. We've got partners from the I-4 corridor, and if you're a community partner from the I-10 corridor, reach out to us. We want to talk because we've got some good things for you. Yeah. So what is this data science for social good? Many of you may be familiar with the concept of data science, where we're gaining actionable insights from data and trying to provide those solutions to the organization. But our work wouldn't have its meaning and its power and its impact without those community partner organizations. So they're very brave. They come to us with their data and they say, hey, can you help us address these wicked problems, these very challenging problems that we're focused on in our organization? And so we partner with them, and we package this whole thing up as a 12-week internship for our students to work on these projects as a team, to come up with those data science solutions. And really, what we're hoping is that these students not just develop those data science skills, but also have that human touch to them as well, so they understand the impact that this work has on the community. And so what we say is that we're training students to be, like all of us, social trustees of knowledge, right? They have that knowledge, but they have a responsibility to share that with the broader community. So that's what we do, and that's what we've been doing for a while. And of course, we could not do this without the support of our sponsors. And so some of them you have already seen, but we really appreciate this funding and how it comes to us, these partners that partner with us year after year and make this type of experience possible, both for our students and also for our nonprofit organization. So let's celebrate these sponsors for their commitment. So now I'd like to invite to the stage Dawn Lockhart, who's the Chief Executive Officer at the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida, and she'll have a few comments for us.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. And first of all, I just want to thank Karthik and Dan. You all know that they have been and continue to be the champions of data science and really building a field in our community that is so critical to ensuring that we understand the critical factors that we have to address in order to make sure that there is a high quality of life for all. So I just am very proud of the work that we've done together. The concept started many years ago. Rena Coughlin went to a conference, had an idea, reached out to some friends, and the UNF has just taken this concept and built it into a field that is changing the way the social sector thinks about how we can affect change, and most importantly, how we can assure that we're making informed decisions around how to create impact, how to make investments in order to make sure that everybody has the highest quality of life. So we're very grateful to you, very grateful for the work that you're doing, and really encourage all of you students who are out in this field, please don't abandon this work. Be a champion and continue to carry the sword and teach others how to continue this work so that we really can solve the wicked problems that our community has and do it together in a way that's data informed. So I would be remiss if I didn't plant a few seeds for some projects maybe you might think about next time. And I have a few data points here that I might want to plant that you might want to think about. And I have to put my glasses on to read this. Some of you know that the Nonprofit Center has a website called the Northeast Florida Indicators Project. And on that website is current data that showcases the detail behind various factors of life and the impact that it's having in our community. I'm going to give you two, preschool enrollment and access to healthy food. In North Florida, more than half of our children ages 3 to 4 are not enrolled in preschool. We know preschool education provides important early learning opportunities and prepares children for success in school. In the state of Florida, 50.5% of children ages 3 to 4 are not enrolled in preschool. In Duval County, 56.5% of children are not enrolled in Duval County. That is a gap that we need to close. More importantly, we need to get down to 0 because we know that early learning is the key to a healthy life. The second one I want to share with you is access to healthy food. This is shocking, or it shouldn't be shocking because we should know about this, but I think you will be shocked. Access to healthy food is an essential need for everyone. We know that. When looking at the data that's on the Indicators website, 63% of people have low access to healthy food. In the state of Florida, 58.7% have low access. In Northeast Florida, 63.2% have low access to healthy food. So I think that these are measurable opportunities to address. There are many solutions out there, and how you as students think about how to invest your time and your talent to provide education and informed research to help address that is a need that we're going to continue to have. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and keep on doing the great work.
All right. So I'm going to be really quick. I know no one came here to listen to me speak tonight. We got a great lineup of speakers. But I just wanted to say, how appreciative we are, NLP Logics, of being part of the Data Science for Social Good program, really since the beginning. We've had a front row seat, been able to watch it grow over the years and watch all the amazing things that have come out of it. So just very appreciative to be part of it. We sponsor it. I know we've had team members help out with Sherpas over the years, and we just enjoy it immensely. Nothing's better than making Northeast Florida the place to be. So just wanted to say that. And then I also wanted to say that to Karthik and Dan, just, you know, this is a year-round effort that goes into this, and I think there's a lot of activity that happens behind the scenes. And it all comes to light today, but I know there's a lot of work. So if we could just give Karthik and Dan a real quick round of applause. Pretty awesome that we have this happening right here in our backyard. And then speaking of other things happening in our backyard, next week we have, well, actually we're kicking off Jacksonville Tech Fest right now, right here. This is the very first event. So congratulations, you made it to the first event at Tech Fest. But I gotta say, stick with us next week. So, you know, if you don't realize it, Jacksonville is an awesome tech town. I hear people say, we need to make it a tech town. It is a tech town. We're already here. People just don't talk about it very much. But next week, we're gonna be talking about it a lot. So starting on Monday out at the Link, we have the Society of Technology Explorers Conference, and that is actually Monday, Tuesday, but Monday is a full day session. You have to RSVP, but it is free to attend. Pete Cochran is helping organize it. Regu from the Link is providing the space, and we have a really great setup lineup of speakers touching on AI, cybersecurity, and even some space tech. So it should be an awesome event. That's on Monday. On Tuesday, it's at the Link again, the JVC Powering the Future. That's going to be an afternoon dedicated to talking about EVs. And so we'll have JEA, we'll have Miller Electric, we'll have Chang Industrial, another really great event to kind of tie in and network. And Wednesday, we got a number of events too. One of them is Pete's going to be interviewing Andrew Rush, who is starting Starcatcher. It's a Starcaster. It's a space startup. So very exciting. We have that stuff right in our backyard. And then all of that builds to Thursday, the Tech Coast Conference, which is a full day event here at UNF, which is another fantastic event. Great networking, incredible speakers. It's really worth checking out if you haven't done that. And then it all culminates on Friday at Kelly Dyer's summer party, which is the annual summer social, which is down at the beach. Just a social event, a great place to come and network. So if you don't mind coming out and learning about what's going on, I gotta say it should be a really fun week. So thanks everybody for coming out tonight, because it's awesome to have support, and good luck, interns. I know you guys have been working hard, and I can't wait to see the presentations. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Tracy Polson.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here for the big reveal. As the Director of Strategic Partnerships, I am the liaison between the Mayor's Office, the nonprofit, philanthropic, and business community as it relates to Mayor Deegan's initiatives. Many of you may know my colleague Parvez Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed is here with us. Over the last year, Parvez and I have gotten into a lot of good trouble on the 4th floor of City Hall. And inevitably, whenever we're in a meeting and people are coming to us with problems or wanting to sort of tell us what they're doing, we look at one another and we say, well, what's the data? And I cannot tell you how many times we will get a blank stare in response. The data, we like to start with the data, but often the data provides information that then leads us to ask further questions so that we continue to sort of look at why things are happening and what we can do about them. My PhD is in clinical social work, and my dissertation was a mixed methods design. I looked at high conflict divorce and the impact of attachment and personality styles for folks who were high utilizers of the legal system. Now, little did I know how much that information and experience would come in handy in City Hall. I won't say any more about that. Mayor Deegan, in addition to being the first woman mayor of Jacksonville, is also the first mayor to have created a transparency dashboard on the jacksonville.gov website. As she said during her campaign, the very first thing we need to do is get in there, open the blinds, and let the sunshine in. Her dashboards reflect her early priorities: animal care and protection, permitting, public works, literacy through her River City Readers Program, capital improvement projects, My Jacks, and tree planting. And we're just getting started. Another of her major initiatives involves the homeless population here in Jacksonville. My colleague Josh Hicks and I convened more than 20 stakeholders beginning in January to come up with a plan to address our homeless population. Early on in that process, we learned about HB 1365, which is a bill passed by the state legislature outlawing public camping. Now we pulled from that 5-year strategic plan 12 items to begin to address that law. Guess what the second recommendation of the plan? Expand and improve the homelessness management data collection system, otherwise known as HMIS. Why? Because we know that data collection is crucial for creating effective, efficient, and evidence-based strategies that help to ensure the responsible use of public funds. We said data must drive our decision-making. So with that, I want to thank you for inviting me, and it is my pleasure to kick off 2024 Jacksonville Tech Fest, and I would like to invite the Cathedral Arts Program folks to come up on stage. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Zina Baker, here with Ula and Venkata as the Cathedral Arts Project's Florida Data Science for Social Good team. We're here today to talk to you about the implementation of the Celebrating Arts Index and feedback system for after-school arts programs that we worked on developing this year. So first, I would like to discuss the state of arts in Florida. As it currently stands, the amount of funding that we spend per capita is $1.41 per person on the arts, regardless of student status. That's less than a bag of chips. Furthermore, Florida ranks 17th among all 50 states in the United States for the amount that it spends on the arts. And 38% of all of our students are not enrolled in any arts program whatsoever. Even for those that are enrolled in arts programs, our arts programs are not assessed the same way as a math, science, or language arts program, so we don't know if we're giving the best quality arts education to our students. Which brings us to the wicked problem that we've been asked to address: access to arts programs for students. Duval County outperforms the state of Florida in arts in many regards. We tend to have more arts programs per student, we tend to have a higher percentage of access, and overall this would not be possible without the hard work of DCPS and its community. That's our teachers, our principals, our parents, and our students who all work hard to keep this arts program the best that it can be. We're going to strive to maintain our arts programs as well as improve them going forward. And in order to do that, we have looked at the outcomes of arts investment. So the resources that we put in now to create things such as field trips, arts programming, extracurricular activities, and community engagement opportunities later become these great impacts such as skill development and improvement in grades for our students. We may not be able to see the impacts that we have now, but they're very important later down the line for what we invest in our arts today. The Cathedral Arts Project is one such group that is working to help schools to have better arts education, as well as to provide resources for schools to be able to do their best. Their mission is to empower children, elevate educators, and give a quality arts education to all students across the state of Florida. They do this through providing enriching experiences such as field trips and for their advocacy in access and equity in arts education. I'd like to now turn the mic over to Ula to discuss the LEAD survey, one of CAP's greatest data-driven endeavors.
Hi everyone, my name's Ula McCarthy. Thank you so much, Zina, for discussing CAP's important work thus far. So now I'd like to shift our focus over towards the LEAD survey. The LEAD survey, through the efforts of CAP, was developed to assess the current state of arts education in Duval County. It specifically looks at the strengths as well as the areas of improvement that is seen across all school levels in terms of arts education. And through this LEAD survey, it allows organizations such as CAP to make data-based driven decisions. Now, first off, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge all the efforts and hard work done by the principals of Duval County Schools. Through their efforts, we were actually able to obtain 100% participation rates. Now, for a national survey, our usual participation response rates range from just 5% to 15%. So getting a 100% participation rate for all of the LEAD survey for last year is truly such a rarity. So let's take a moment to celebrate that. So through this participation rate for public schools in Duval County, we were able to gain some really interesting insights in terms of arts education. For example, we found that 76% of schools were able to offer at least one field trip throughout the school year. We also saw that 90% of students were enrolled in an arts education course, and we found that funding and supplies were ranked amongst the top priorities for all Duval County public schools. Now, through the Data Science for Social Good internship program, we were able to create visuals to get better insights to understand what areas need to be improved upon and what are the strengths of arts education within Duval County. Looking at one of these visuals here, we see that we have the number of arts-related field trips offered by schools. Now, I said previously that 76% of schools offered an arts-related field trip, but we're seeing that 33 schools, or around 24%, are not able to offer an arts-related field trip, which offer immersive and inclusive experiences for arts education for students. So being able to create these visuals actually gives us better insights for how we can create actionable resources for these schools to better turn over arts education access. Looking at another visual that we were able to create through the participation of the LEAD survey, we saw that additional budget dedicated to the arts is a really important factor in terms of arts resourcing for schools. We also see that arts integration in STEM is another important resource and variable in terms of arts education in Duval County. Arts integration in STEM includes mixing arts enrollment with enrollment in STEM courses, and this provides a more holistic and greater experience for students in Duval County for arts education. So overall, the LEAD survey is a really important tool for understanding how arts education functions in Duval County. And through the LEAD survey, we were able to develop the STAR report. And now I'd like to turn it over to my project partner, Venkata, to discuss the STAR report. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Venkata. Thank you, Ulla, for explaining the arts distribution and data distribution across schools in Duval County. Let us see how we have used this data to build up actionable insights. Over the past years, LEAD survey was distributed to schools to gather comprehensive data on arts education and arts performances. Our role at DSSG was to make this data into an evaluation metric that is going to assess and evaluate schools based on the arts performances. For this, we have used data science magic to come up with a solution for that. For the celebrating the arts index, which is the STAR report. Now we are here to present you the STAR report. The basic idea of the STAR report is, this idea of STAR report was developed by previous interns at DSSG, and we have developed it into a fully functional tool. Our key achievement was to build 3 different STAR reports for the 3 different school levels, that is for elementary, middle and high schools combined together, and also for the magnet schools. This STAR report not only going to evaluate the schools, but also it can give the feedback where they can improve in the art section. In addition to that, we have programmatically developed the STAR report using Python and R programming languages, which can be further used for the analysis on arts across schools. Let us see how the STAR report looks like. There are 5 dimensions in the STAR report: access, funding, governance, quality, and engagement. Access determines the reach of the arts programs. Funding assesses the amount and diversion in the financial resources. Governance gonna take up on leadership structures, and quality measures the learning opportunities. Engagement measures the community involvement and the partnerships. And we have four indexes for the served as a categories. For each dimension, we're going to separate them based on these points. The sample STAR report looks like this. For the dimensions, we are going to categorize them into categories: blossoming, achieving, elevating, and flourishing, based on the points they have received. Using the data analysis, we have found ranges and also points for each dimension. You are right now seeing the sample example for points for governance dimension. As you can observe that the points are being increased from blossoming to flourishing, which gives a clear pathway for schools to improve their arts educations from blossoming level to flourishing level. Now let us look the comprehensive arts STAR card. This STAR report is exclusively for elementary schools. We have dimensions and respective variables. We using the data science magic, we have utilized the R and Python programming languages for creating the ranges across different dimensions, and also we have assigned points to them. Based on these dimensions, we can categorize the schools into different levels. So the summation of all the points obtained for each school across each dimension, they are going to get a score which is called as Astral Arts score. So the Astral Arts score ranges from 0 to 65 for the elementary school level. And as combining all the data, all the scores for the dimensions, they have all the data for all the scores for across dimensions, and observing the ranges across the dimensions, we can group these schools into 4 categories, that is blossoming, achieving, and elevating. The analysis shows that there are 8 schools in blossoming level, which are early stage of arts development. Majority of the schools falls in achieving, elevating stage, met the basic idea of the arts, but still they have a room for growth and improvement. Now here comes the star of the script. 9 schools are falling in under flourishing level, which means they are standing as a mode of excellence. This gives a clear idea for other schools to inspire and get into the flourishing level. So the next steps is, for us at DSSG, we are going to generate the STAR report and by automating it, and also we are going to implement the logic model. For CAP, using these insights and STAR report, they can help and support the schools where and how they can improve in arts sector. We hope DCPS and FL-DOE use our insights and it can be used as a guide for them for decision policies and resource allocation and budget allotment. And finally, parents and students also can have a major role in participation in arts, and we want parents and students to get involved in arts with the schools and encourage students to participate in arts events. So CAP is leading us in a way that data-driven insights which can help arts to improve in Duval County and the region. I invite everyone to join in celebrating and elevating the arts program. Thank you. With this, I'm inviting Jala team.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Venkata, for your introduction. As a Day Soda alum, I know how important the arts are, so good work on that. My name is Kevin Loers, and I'm working on the Jacksonville Area Legal Aid Project. However, I'd like to turn your attention to Christian, a hypothetical tenant who resembles many of Jala's clients. So Christian is a veteran without a bachelor's degree. He lives paycheck to paycheck working for a transportation company, and after years of dignified employment, is laid off from his job. He starts his job search, and unfortunately, the median job search takes about 9 weeks. He misses rent, and his landlord files an eviction notice against him. So went the eviction and changes the locks on his door. In Florida, this is illegal, and in Duval County, you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice before a default judgment is rendered against you. If you can find legal representation within that time, and if Christian does, he has a very good chance of winning his case because changing the locks on the door is illegal. If you cannot find legal representation within that time, unfortunately, the chances of decline significantly. Christian's story is not unique. It happens to millions of people across the United States and many in Duval County. These stories, this intuition has filled our literature review, our statistical modeling. Just as Dr. Polson said, that the data supplementing the intuition for public policymakers, for us, that intuition supplements our data, which leads us into the literature review. So we conducted a comprehensive literature review on the literature on evictions. And we find that housing instability is a causal predictor of poverty and chronic unemployment. Furthermore, it's also associated with a range of undesirable health outcomes, health and social outcomes. Among these, evicted mothers report higher levels of material hardship, depression, and stress compared to stably housed mothers. Furthermore, there is an increased risk of death in the next year for those who are evicted, and it's associated with moves to higher crime and more impoverished neighborhoods. Furthermore, it also makes it more difficult to find housing of comparable quality when you have an eviction notice filed against you, which forces many tenants to accept substandard housing. This leads us into, apologies about that. Anyway, the housing demand, that in Duval County, there's been an increase in housing demand, and it's exploded in the recent years. So that has caused rents to increase, that has caused the number of rent-burdened residents to increase significantly, and this has also made it an attractive market for large corporate landlords who we know through our literature review tend to have arm's length relationships with tenants and also have a formalized eviction process which increases the eviction risk, which this enters Jala. Jala is an organization providing high-quality legal services to special needs and low-income groups across 17 northeastern Florida counties. They were founded in 1937 during the Great Depression, and their goal is to further economic and social justice within Northeast Florida. Furthermore, to highlight some of their work, they had 10,000 requests for legal services in 2023 and provided over $1 million in-kind legal services to the impoverished and low-income residents of Duval County and the surrounding counties. With many legal aid organizations, unfortunately, they find it very difficult to identify people proactively. They're in a state of reaction. They wait for people to reach out to them. To that end, they did reach out to us, Florida Data Science for Social Good, to deliver a system that would proactively identify clients as they arise. Unfortunately, we were not able to get there, but I'm proud to say that we have conducted a comprehensive research project where we looked at the eviction data in Duval County, and we were able to identify trends and patterns in that data, which will help inform their efforts. And in addition, we'll also document next steps for them to be able to get to that predictive system. I'd also like to invite, with that said, I'd like to invite my colleague Lisa onto the stage to talk more about our methodology. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. So our methodology analyzes eviction risks and helps to target cases that are most vulnerable. I'll walk you through the 4 key components of our approach. So we based our approach on the proven methodologies that were developed by the Princeton Eviction Lab. With their findings, we were able to determine that demographics and socioeconomic factors play a big role in evictions across the country. Next, we analyzed the eviction records from the clerk of court alongside the demographic and socioeconomic factors from the census blocks. This allowed us to deeply understand the eviction landscape in Duval County. In statistical modeling phase, we employed clustering methods to group those census blocks that had similar characteristics and helped us to identify high-risk neighborhoods. We also used logistic regression to explore the relationship between these factors. Finally, we developed a case prioritization framework. This framework gives a likelihood for the case evictions, and with the likelihood, we were able to determine and quickly identify and prioritize those cases that are most significant and that would most benefit from legal intervention. So we came across several challenges, but the most significant was attempting to classify wrongful eviction. Now, most of you might be wondering what a wrongful eviction is. So let me take you back on Christian's story. If Christian's landlord decided to perhaps change the door locks without any legal processes, or maybe tried to forcefully chase Christian from his apartment without any proper notice, that would be a wrongful eviction. But unfortunately, due to the lack of detailed data, we were not able to achieve this goal. However, we shifted our focus into identifying potential cases. So with the clerk of court, it was challenging due to its inconsistencies with missing entries and different formatting, which made it a bit challenging for us to work with. And due to the tenants' diversity in demographics and socioeconomic factors, it was also difficult for us to create groups for these cases. Now I'll dive deep into the clerk of court. First, the clerk of court is basically just the court data. So we start with a weekly file, which has eviction cases received from the clerk of court. These eviction cases have had an activity within that week. And by an activity, it could either be a hearing or a motion has been filed and so on. This data had 2 parties, which was later on split into those 2 parties. So we started with the defendants, where we standardized the addresses using geocoding. Then we incorporated the census information based on the census blocks that the address is in. And after that, we analyzed the data to identify trends, frequencies, and geographic distribution. We moved to the plaintiffs, where we used feature engineering to quantify the landlord and attorney filings. So this helped us a lot, as it helped us to identify and observe those key attorney-landlord relations. Then later on, we remerged these 2 data into a single file, which was known as the master file. So this master file is the one that was used to perform statistical modeling. Now, something that was of most importance to JALA was to identify those attorneys that had the highest filings within a week. Now, looking at this visual, we see that we have typical attorneys, which it was an average of, all these typical attorneys had an average of 2 cases filed, while we had the high filers who had 11 cases filed. Now, what does this tell us? This revealed that there are some attorneys that would have high mass filings within a week, and that means they would have less concentration for each of these cases. So this information was insightful for our analysis, as it helped us to identify those cases in which tenants could have a high risk of being evicted. I would like to turn this to Devan, who's going to dive deep into statistical modeling.
Thank you, Lisa. So once we got our data set and our data file all merged together, we wanted to move on to our statistical modeling. But like Lisa mentioned, before we could move on to any modeling, we needed to incorporate census data. This includes demographic and socioeconomic factors that closely aligned with the Princeton Eviction Lab research that we did. Once we incorporated that census block data, we could then move on to clustering to better identify those neighborhoods where evictions are filed that JALA might benefit with reaching out to. Our first step was initial clustering, making sure that we could identify these key factors, and then we wanted to take it a step further and move on with more refined layers or refined clustering. Once we developed our clusters, we pursued a logistic regression analysis to really understand the relationship that these features had with one another. Now, before we move on, what exactly is clustering? Clustering analysis is a method taken place to group features together to better understand where these feature groups lay within the data. So let's go into the clusters that we were able to find. So we took our master file, and we noticed with our initial clustering layer that there were two prominent groups that came out of that. There were neighborhoods with high veteran populations and neighborhood with high low-income populations. But this didn't really scratch that itch that we had. We wanted to be able to identify further clusters that JALA could actually reach out to and help with their eviction. So we did an additional layer of clustering to dive deeper. Within the high veteran neighborhoods, we found that there is a real delimitation between age. So we have clusters with young, middle-aged, and older median ages within those clusters. And you can see here that in that top cluster, there's a young, more educated, and a high attorney involvement. Now, when we're looking at these clusters, what does attorney involvement mean? This relates back to what Lisa was mentioning, with identifying attorneys that have a high caseload per week. A high caseload can be synonymous with an attorney that might not be able to pay as close attention as, say, a low filing attorney. You might also see in these clusters there's a high legal involvement. This relates back to a landlord count and as well as an attorney count. Really identifying the relationships between landlords and attorneys in Duval County, it helps us identify cases that would satisfy with JALA assistance. Now, being able to identify those within the high veterans neighborhoods was important, but it's also important to identify clusters within these low-income neighborhoods. So you can see that there's also a delimitation upon age. And you can also see that there is a delimitation on legal involvement as well. Knowing that these clusters exist and knowing the relationship between these features within these clusters, it helped us develop a way to prioritize these cases. So where evictions might be in a high veteran neighborhood where the population is older or less educated with minimal legal involvement, that might be the perfect case for JALA to reach out to. This leads us to our recommendations to JALA. As was mentioned, we weren't able to specifically identify wrongful evictions. So one step moving forward is to add this to their case management system. This allows JALA to actually identify those evictions that are wrongful. It provides the framework for future projects as well as JALA to build upon. Once you understand what a wrongful eviction is, you can develop foundation around that to reach and expand on the clients met. We also would recommend that JALA aligns their intake to incorporate and collect more census-related information. Through our extensive research, we found that there were socioeconomic and demographic factors that JALA could benefit in collecting throughout their intake process. This, along with collecting wrongful evictions, will really lay the foundation for JALA and future DSSG projects to grow on. Next is incorporating and improving upon eviction data reporting with the clerk of court. We are very grateful for the data that we receive from the clerk of court. And it's not perfect, but no data source is. So working with JALA and the clerk of court to really make sure that the eviction reports that they receive is beneficial to not only them, but the tenants in the Duval County area is helpful for every party involved. And finally, JALA is one of the few legal aids across the country that actually has an in-house data scientist. So if they can take the information that we were able to gather and the recommendations that we were able to suggest, they can adapt and refine this approach. Being able to adapt this approach and making sure that it works for JALA is imperative for helping future tenants. Thank you. And next we'll move on with Sam with the Florida Philanthropic Network.
Thank you, Devin. And hello, everyone. I'm Sam, and over the past couple of weeks, I've had the opportunity to work with Anwar and Shanmugh on the Florida Philanthropic Project Network. So, the United States Census Bureau conducts surveys every couple years to estimate information about people who live in the United States. And the reason why these surveys are important is because the federal government uses this information to allocate funds and develop policy. So for example, in 2021, the federal government allocated $2.8 trillion based on the Census Bureau's data. And one particularly important survey that the Census Bureau conducts is the decennial census. And so as you might be able to tell, the decennial census occurs every 10 years. Additionally, the purpose of it is to estimate the population and the demographics of the people who live in the United States. And this survey is really important because the federal government uses it to allocate a large amount of funding to states. Additionally, it's uniquely important because the federal government uses this data to assign House of Representatives seats to each state. And now you might be wondering, how could the census possibly count every single person in the United States? Well, they don't, and instead they rely on estimates. But sometimes these estimates can be inaccurate. And particularly, we care about those estimates when they're underestimating the population, and we call that an undercount. So in the 2020 decennial census, Florida was undercounted by 750,000 residents. And now you might wonder, well, who cares? You all should, because this undercount has led to a projected $11 to $21 billion in loss of federal funding in the next decade. And one great organization that has been working to improve this undercount is the Florida Philanthropic Network. And as a general goal, the Florida Philanthropic Network works to expand Florida's philanthropy by guiding and aiding nonprofits. But they also have a particular interest in the undercount. And with the undercount, they work to increase awareness of the census and therefore improve that undercount by the 2030 decennial census. And we've actually had the great opportunity to work with the Florida Philanthropic Network in the past. So in the 2023 Florida Data Science for Social Good project, the main goal was to estimate the undercount for each Florida county. So if you divert your attention to this map, you can see that the counties in a darker red were counties that were more severely undercounted. And so you can see that some of these counties are in the Panhandle, some are in Central Florida, and some are in South Florida. And from this information, the Florida Philanthropic Network was able to create a list of priority counties to campaign in, and additionally, they were able to make sure that they had a well-funded nonprofit organization in some of those highly undercounted counties. And with that, I'm going to invite Anwar onto the stage to talk about our current goal projects.
Thank you, Sam. So what we have seen, last year interns came up with some really impactful results at county level, but we think there are more to dive into this wicked problem to look more closely what's actually going on. So this year, the goal of this project was to identify all the risk factors related to undercount at zip code level. Then building visuals for nonprofits to help them understand all the relevant risk factors that are affecting more to any particular zip code and taking the actions accordingly. And making this project more impactful by reducing undercount percentage in 2030 census. So US Census Bureau has listed some hard-to-count risk factors and historically undercounting risk factors. Hard-to-count is when our traditional method of counting doesn't help much to include all the people in census. For example, non-English speakers. They're hard to count because language barrier always makes it difficult to interview people or get them to participate in any online survey. Historically undercounted people are those who are getting undercounted over the past censuses as well. For example, renters with higher mobility rate. Maybe they are changing their locations more often because of switching jobs or any business purposes. So, bringing all those risk factors in hand and analyze this problem further, we have taken top five undercounted counties from 2023 FL project, along with 7 more neighboring counties. Worth mentioning here is that Polk County is one of those neighboring counties, and it has the highest rate of migration in the entire United States. So, based on those 12 counties, consisting of total 469 zip codes, we got 4 core-based statistical areas forming in Lakeland, Orlando, Miami, and Tampa, where there are more than 13 million people are living in those 4 core-based statistical areas, with more than 500,000 people being undercounted in 2020 census. So, getting fixed with the areas we'll be working on, we started looking for our data sources. We used US Census Bureau for demographic, social, and economic data, like race and ethnicity, housing tenure, occupation, internet accessibility, and so on. We collected library resources and their location data from Career One Stop, because it is important to know if anyone doesn't have internet at their home, they need to go to the nearest public libraries to participate in any online service. Then we used Forefront as a data source, as a source of our population density, because we needed to know how the population is distributed over the region we are working on. Then Ookla internet speed test really helped us to identify all those zip codes with lower internet connections, because it is very crucial for any online survey, as like 2020 census campaign that was fully online. Lastly, Florida Division of Elections gave us voter registration and participation data, offering a glimpse into civic engagement across different communities. So while collecting the data and processing the data further, we also faced some challenges. Like we had to identify conceptual grouping of different dimensional variables, and we went through too many modules to collect the relevant data sources. Then we had to take care of some overlapping zip codes over some counties while taking care of standard PO box zip code and unique zip codes separately. Dimension reduction was another big challenge for us. We had to run spearman correlation over 100 variables, leading to a couple of hundreds correlation to reduce the dimension before going for our final analysis. So at this moment, I would like to invite Shanmugh to talk about our final analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Anwar, for inviting me. So after the dimensionality reduction, we have grouped our factors into 3 key dimensions. The first one is personal dimension. It includes the demographic factors like age, race, and education, which tells us these personal factors contribute to underrepresentation. The next one is geographic dimension. It includes the housing-related factors like rent burden and non-traditional housing. This dimension helps us to understand where these housing-related factors are located in and how likely they are to be undercounted. And the last one is digital divide. In today's digital age, access to technology and internet is very crucial for census participation. This dimension helps us to highlight the gaps where certain population cannot participate in census with no internet access. But in order to focus on an issue, the nonprofits needs to know where their efforts are most needed. So now let's move on to our dashboards to see where these zip codes are located. As we can see, the top buttons, those are the 3 different dimensions. In the left side, we can see the Florida map displayed, and those colors represent the zip codes that we selected from 12 counties. The purple color, the darker the purple color is, higher the percentage of the variable, and the darker the gray color is, lower the percentage of the variable. Beside the map, we can see the list of zip codes. It is ordered in the descending order. The top zip code has highest percentage and the bottom zip code has lowest percentage. In the right side, we can see the list of filters. These are used for interactions of this dashboard. Now let's imagine if a non-profit is focused on bridging the digital divide. So now we can go on to digital divide and select the variable of no internet access from the variable filter. Now we can see some of the zip codes are popping out. These are the zip codes which doesn't have internet access. Let's say if a non-profit is interested in Miami area, we can go on and select the Miami area from the filters. Yes, these are the zip codes with no internet access in Miami area. So non-profits can go on to these zip codes and improve the internet access in these areas. But these zip codes may also contain other similar factors. To know the similar factors for a set of zip codes, we have did the K-means cluster analysis. This is the cluster analysis dashboard. We have 6 clusters. As we can see, the top 6 buttons are the different clusters. For example, young families with children less than 5. This is one of the cluster. But for now, we are going to see challenged families cluster. In the map, we can see some of the zip codes are highlighted. The green color zip codes are Orlando area, and the red color zip codes are Tampa area, and the blue color zip codes are Lakeland area, and the orange zip codes are for Miami area. In the right side, we can see the bar graph. Those have some variables related to this set of zip codes. And those numbers are, it is a percentage of these factors for this set of zip codes. Now let's say if a non-profit is interested in Tampa area, we can go on and select one particular zip code in Tampa area. This bar graph is specifically for that particular zip code. Here we can see that this zip code is high in no health insurance, poverty, and high in no vehicles available, but it has low in public transport usage. So what non-profits can do is they can go on to this zip code and they can provide some vouchers to increase the public transport usage and offer free clinics to remove the lack of health insurance. As we see in our results, let's move on to our recommendations. After analyzing the different variables, we have seen that no health insurance, poverty, and no internet access is highly affecting this Miami area. Even the urban zip codes doesn't have internet access in Miami area. And the next one is Lakeland area. In this, non-traditional housing and no internet access is highly influencing. People living in mobile homes and RVs, they often tend to move from one place to another place. These population are high likely to be undercounted. And for the next one, Orlando area. This has age under 5 years and age 65 and over. For the age under 5 years, census has listed as hard to count and historically undercounted. And the last one is Tampa area. unemployment is highly influencing in this Tampa area. So now we have all this information. So we recommend FPN to connect with local nonprofits and work on these issues so they can overcome the undercounting issue by 2030 census for better Florida. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Rebecca from Florida Health Justice Project.
Thank you, Sean Mook. Hi, my name is Rebecca Burstein, and I'm here helping the Florida Health Justice Project in illustrating and identifying healthcare coverage gaps across Florida. Now, access to affordable healthcare is an issue that affects us all. Today, I'm going to be telling you real stories about real people living right here in Florida. Miriam, a mother of 2 living in Miami. Miriam thought her fight was over after surviving cancer and getting a job with health insurance. Miriam then lost her health insurance after losing her job due to COVID-19. This means that she's going to be paying off debt for years to come. Michael, a young man from Orlando, Florida, is a small business owner but still doesn't have any health insurance. He does, however, have a health condition, the worst of which being his asthma. While Michael tries to scrape together just enough money each month to afford his inhalers, he's only able to afford ones off the black market. Shirley, a resident living right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Shirley suffered a horrible stroke, causing her to be bedridden. Without the help of in-home health aides and a chairlift, she can't get out of bed. On weekends, she is trapped and alone. So the state of our health insurance. There are 2 million people here in Florida without health insurance. Now, healthcare coverage is extremely important because our health is important. Having a healthy community is important. From a 2023 Florida Blue survey of uninsured Floridians, 70% of uninsured people believed that they could not afford health insurance. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 1 in every 8 Floridians under the age of 65 are uninsured. That's 13.9% of the population versus the 9.5% nationwide. Now, Florida Health Justice Project. This issue is the beating heart of our partner organization. That's why they participate in advocacy, litigation, and education in order to help people just like Michael, Miriam, and Shirley. Now, project goals. This is why Florida Health Justice Project came to us to help their goal of illustrating and identifying healthcare coverage gaps in Florida. Now, we want them to be able to leverage this public healthcare data that we have just put in their back pocket with dashboards from Tableau that show them easily accessible data that they can bring to stakeholders and policymakers in order to help them identify the uninsured populations. Now I'm going to hand it over to John for more about our health data. Thank you.
Hard act to follow. All right, so when Florida Health Justice Project came to us, they wanted to get information on the healthcare coverage gap. Now, for the uninitiated, that is a sticky situation to be in where an individual or household makes something above the 100% of the federal poverty level, which is defined by, and I forgot. Anyway, so if you make above that amount, you don't qualify for Medicaid. But also, if you make under 138% of the federal poverty level, then you more than likely won't be able to qualify for the marketplace. Oh. You won't, so you won't qualify for Medicaid, and you also won't qualify for the subsidies provided by the marketplace or private coverage. This leaves individuals or households in the relevant in the relevant case, without coverage. Now, to better wrap our head around this, we gathered public sources, such as the American Community Survey, which, if you were paying attention to the last project, you already know about, county health rankings, which is a really good resource, Florida Health Charts, another very good resource, and we dug through this information and we selected variables that we thought would be relevant to addressing this problem and filtered more than hundreds of variables into hundreds of variables. Continuing on from that, preparing this data allowed us to perform correlations and analysis. Doing this helped us to understand which of the variables would be most important for how we wanted to proceed. Having identified those variables, we had to turn them into a story. For that story, we have decided on 3 lenses. The first being health, second being demographics, and the third being economics. For these dashboards, we're going to be exploring these lenses, exploring these perspectives with the lenses of the dashboard, with intuitive user design and user-oriented design again. Anyway, so to guide us on that journey, I'm going to be inviting our wonderful team lead, Michael Mazzano, to take you guys through that. So, big round of applause for him.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Mazzano. As John said, I'll be taking you through some of the dashboards that we worked with Florida Health Justice Project to help illustrate the scores of data that are available to help us understand better the issue of uninsurance and health data across the state. The first of these 3 dashboards we're going to look at focuses on health. So on the left, you can see a map where counties in red are those with the highest rates of uninsured adults in the coverage gap. So any county that you see in red are those that have more of those uninsured adults in that specific age group and federal poverty level. On the right side, we can see health outcomes for the state or an individual county or region if we select those. So we're going to go ahead and use one of the filters on the right side, and we're going to look at Northeast Florida. Now, when we view Northeast Florida, we can see that the health outcomes have gone up in terms of mortality and other negative health outcomes that we see here. This indicates that in this part of the state, people are experiencing worse health outcomes. We can select all to go back to our full view of the state, and we might be interested in investigating a particular county, perhaps one of our red-colored counties. So we're going to look at Columbia County. Now, when we go to Columbia County, we can see on the right side that the rate of uninsured adults in the gap is 36%. We can also see that compared to the state of Florida at large, the rate of mortality for both adults and infants with these metrics is 1.5 times higher than the state. So in this way, we're able to quickly understand which counties are experiencing those high rates of uninsured adults in the gap alongside the health outcomes that they're struggling with. But we might be interested in the uninsured demographics of Columbia County. So that's what we can look at in our next dashboard. What this dashboard provides is a snapshot of the most uninsured demographics in a county. So looking here at Columbia, we can see that in terms of age groups, 19 to 25-year-olds are the most uninsured group in this county. We can see that men are more uninsured in terms of sex, and we can see that in terms of race, the Hispanic population is the most uninsured. Something that sticks out when we look here is that the rate of uninsurance by nativity is highest among non-citizens in this county. Over half, 52% of that population is without health insurance. Now, we can select a demographic from the filters on the right side to drill down deeper and see what's going on here. So when we select that nativity filter, we see that that group of non-citizens is uninsured at 3 times the rate of foreign citizens who have already naturalized. Now, if we go to another county, say Duval County, we can see how this snapshot changes. So here in Duval County, that rate of uninsurance among non-citizens drops from 52% down to 36%. But we can also see that some of those uninsured demographics have changed. For example, the most uninsured age group is 26 to 34-year-olds like me here in Duval County. And what we're able to do is see the unique story of each county in terms of its uninsured populations. Now, there's another way that we can think about our uninsured populations, and that's through our uninsured workers across the state. Our final dashboard gives us a perspective of all uninsured adults in terms of their employment status. So the chart at the bottom is letting us look at the populations of those who are working, unemployed, or not in the labor force. And in Duval County, we see that by far there are more uninsured who are working than those who are uninsured but unemployed and not in the labor force. We can also see with the visual on the right that in terms of industry, the most uninsured industries in our county are arts, entertainment, and retail. Now, this picture changes drastically if we look at another county. For example, if we go to Hendry County, this is one of the most red-colored counties in the state in terms of uninsured adults in the coverage gap. In Hendry County, we see that over 1/4 of their uninsured workers are in agriculture, mining, forestry, and other outdoor industries. Over 1/4. And these are folks who are working in a field that have higher health risks due to physical labor, working with heavy machinery, exposure possibly to hazards on their work environment. And really what this tells us is that we can break some common misconception of who is uninsured across the state of Florida. We can see that even in Hendry County, we have a much larger proportion of people working who are uninsured. And we can see the industries where that's really affecting the population. So these are just a few of the key insights that we gleaned building these dashboards with Florida Health Justice Project and exploring the data. And there are many more. For example, in Hamilton County, going a bit west of here, we see that 15% of women are uninsured. That's higher than the rate of men, which is unusual across Florida. We can also see that in Hardee County, we have 17% of folks with a disability are uninsured, more than folks without a disability. Again, that's the opposite of what we see across the state of Florida. And in Monroe County, this is the home of Key West and a vacation destination, almost 1/3 of uninsured workers are in accommodation and recreation, the people making those vacations possible. And so really, our key takeaway from this project and these dashboards is that every county in Florida has a unique story and a unique problem with its uninsured populations. And by building these dashboards, we want to be able to tell their stories and empower Florida Health Justice Project and Floridians to be able to advocate for the counties and the populations most in need of health insurance access. And this also includes Floridians like Miriam, like Michael, like Shirley, and many, many more who can be benefited by having greater access to health insurance coverage. Thank you very much.
So now we are ready to change to the next stage in this event. So they all went through a lot of different changes over this 12 weeks. So there is a little bit more to them. We will get back to them. But we are now ready to switch gears and pay attention to now our community partners who gave us these wonderful opportunities and wonderful projects. So now we want them to reflect on what the interns have done for this past 12 weeks. So essentially we are asking them to reflect what is the biggest big reveal for them from this project, what that means for their organization, and how are they going to use it moving forward, right, for their organization point of view. So with that, first we would like to invite Lucy to come to the stage, Dr. Lucy Chen to stage and reflect for Cathedral Arts.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Lucy Chen. I'm the VP of Advocacy from the Cathedral Arts Project. And it's not often that you would have a guest speaker here with a prop. I want to say that because this is my 3rd year on this stage, and there is a reason why I keep coming back. It's because of the incredible work of DSSG. So I want to thank Karthik and also Dan for your incredible work, as well as the interns. I also like to acknowledge and thank our incredible partners from Duval County Public Schools, and it's because of Ms. Paula Renfro and Dr. Lori Hoppick who have helped us and supported us through this LEAD journey, and it's because of their hard work that allowed us to achieve this high survey completion rate to look at the survey data. And when Austin, Texas, their school district, calls you on the phone and asks, hey, would you and your school district be willing to share your secret sauce as how you all got this done? I think that means something, and that probably says we're doing something correctly. So this project has enabled us to look at the needs of our community, and I actually want to tell you what happened 2 years ago when I was standing on this stage. It was through this work that we learned that students, especially those without access to field trips, and by having just 1 or 2 field trips and external arts opportunities, can increase their academic learning and boost their attendance in school. In addition to that, 42% of the principals mention that field trips sometimes can be a barrier due to financial reasons as well as logistical reasons. So with that in mind, we teamed up with our great partners at Duval County Public Schools, Kids Hope Alliance, and we piloted a summer field trip last year. And we invited over 1,000 students to go to the Florida Theater, where we actually paired arts, having arts curriculum as part of the field trip opportunity. So students got a chance to read about the stories, learn new vocabulary, and get to experience shows live in the theater. Now this summer, fast forward, we were able to expand that opportunity to 4,500 students, and we were able to partner and provide this opportunity to 8 different sites. And students got a chance to learn a new instrument at the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra. They got a chance to visit the first library in Jacksonville at the Jesse Ball DuPont Center. They got a chance to see the cultural fabric of our city at the Ritz Museum. And most importantly, all the students received a little field trip passport. The passport is meant to journal their summer experience, but when you open to the first page, it's a greeting from our Jacksonville Mayor, Deegan. So we are very, very honored to be able to provide this opportunity to countless students in our community. And when we think about this work, and we ask students, what is your most memorable experience over the summer? We would think, well, they'd probably enjoy the show. They probably love sitting in the theater at a historic theater that's over 100 years. But a lot of the students said it's actually through the field trip where they cross a bridge to the other side of Jacksonville. So I'm going to invite Karthik to show us that little picture. And with that in mind, we invited our field trip participants to create a mosaic of our city. And this is the bridge that they created. And each student got a piece of the mosaic, and together they created this picture of our city. This bridge connects the north and the south of our city, the east and the west. It connects us all together, and this DSSG project is connecting data with what we're able to do with actionable results. So that is the reason why I brought this prop and also this picture to showcase why this work is so important. And I want to thank, again, DSSG, our school district, our mayor's office for all of the support in this work. So thank you.
So now next we invite Jim. Lucy can stay here.
So I was feeling really bad because I did not bring any props or artwork. And then Dr. Chen mentioned this was her 3rd year, so I guess I'm okay. If we're invited back, we'll work on some artwork. Well, and our logo is a bridge, so we already know what we're going to do. Anyway, so I want to echo the huge thanks to the UNF team, to the students who participated. It was really exciting watching you guys work as a team, and to our JALA staff who were here, who helped participate. I want to thank them as well. So since I don't have a visual aid, I'm actually going to answer the questions that I was told to answer. So what's the project's big reveal? I think the thing for us, the takeaway for us, was challenging assumptions. And by the way, all of the presentations challenged assumptions. I think the last one for Florida Health Justice, with whom we partner and co-counsel on some of these cases, was a big challenge of personal assumptions for me. I assume that I know who is experiencing eviction, right? We know what Florida law is. Florida law is breathtakingly one-sided. It's very fast. If you're served with an eviction notice, you have 5 days to do 2 things, and that's to file a response in court and deposit all of the claimed rent with the clerk of court. And if you don't do those 2 things in 5 days, on the 6th day, the landlord can ask the judge to default you and enter a judgment against you. That's how fast Florida is. It's the most one-sided eviction law in the country for a reason. And I think I assumed, and our team assumed, that we knew who was being evicted, but particularly showing the cohort of veterans who, again, we assume are a group of individuals who know they have access to more services. They know they have access, for example, to vouchers that assist veterans who are homeless. But the data showed that that assumption was incorrect. And I think that was a huge value to us in asking us to pay more attention to our assumptions and to the people who need our services. We've heard anecdotally about this, right? We've heard that our firefighters, our police officers, our teachers, our military enlisted personnel no longer can live near where they work. So having that assumption proven was valuable, but I think the more interesting thing was challenging assumptions that we had, particularly about our vets, that the data revealed. What will be the impact on your organization in addressing your wicked problem? So we went into this knowing we had a bad business model. Legal aid has a bad business model. Lawyers have a bad business model because we rely on clients to come knock on our doors. So if you're lower income or if you're a vet who doesn't know they have access to services and you don't know what to do and you only have 5 days to do it, and we know that stress isn't positive for your decision-making process, this helps us figure out how to get to people in those 5 days. One of the things we have uniquely is, as legal aid, we can solicit, right? There's a rule against lawyers soliciting clients. It has to do with the lawyers who have all the billboards. We are an exception to that rule. We can solicit clients. We can reach out to people and say, we've identified a legal issue and we think we can help you. And I think this is pointing the way to us being able to do that. And what are the next steps? As our presentation team already pointed out, when we were selected for this project, we actually hired a full-time data analyst. And I think that was a huge, it will be a huge benefit to us going forward. Mitchell is a recent UCF grad, went to high school locally, and part of what we struggled with, as I think many nonprofits do, is when we're dealing with these issues, when we're dealing with data and how does data point us to solutions, we sort of glom on to people who already have day jobs. So our previous data analyst, Alamar, who's here, his day job is actually the paralegal in our veterans unit. And so having Alamar add to his day job is not a great business model. Adam, who's here, who runs our consumer unit and handles most of our class action cases, having Adam add an extra duty, having Isaiah, who runs our fair housing unit, add an extra duty, having Kim, who is our COO, add any duties is not a good business model. And so bringing Mitchell on board, introducing him to the rest of the team, introducing him to the few data scientists that do this work within legal aid nationwide is, I think, really going to help us get a jump start on implementing the recommendations of DSSG. So huge thanks to the UNF team. It was amazing to watch them work. I grew up in Silicon Valley, although that didn't take, because obviously I went to law school. I made some bad career choices. So huge thank you, and it was a great experience working with the team. Thank you.
Gina, next.
Thank you. I'm Gina Gallo. I'm the consultant working with FPN on their census and civic engagement issues. The entire small but mighty FPN team is in Tallahassee working on the important work of improving math education in Florida. So you are stuck with me, but this is my favorite topic, so if you need to give me the zip it about census, it's happened before. So I think thank you again to UNF and to our wonderful interns and for allowing us to participate for a second year. The first year was really helpful in providing some supplemental data to what the Bureau already provides because of the pandemic, they weren't able to offer an analysis as deep as they normally are. So as FPN kind of serves as the backbone for Florida Counts, which is the effort that was started really in 2018 by a number of partners and foundations to get out the count. But we realized, of course, that we needed to start that work sooner. So we are trying to make sure that we keep people at the table and we do ongoing education so that we're not going to be in 2028 and freaking out that the census is coming. But I couldn't have had a better kind of opener about the importance of census and ACS and all the Bureau's fantastic and rich data than all of the ways that it was mentioned, because the census affects really every domain, whether you're interested in education, healthcare, housing, infrastructure, et cetera. So we used the data from the last time to look at the county to start with our kind of advocacy efforts, because I think the smaller that you break things down for people, the more relevant that it makes it. So when you're talking to folks in municipalities, to say, this is what it looks like in your county is often something that people are going to hear more than this is Florida in general, because the number is big, right? Like 11 billion, you're just like, whoa. But the lower that you can take down the numbers, the better. So we, one of the things that we're doing in order to make sure that our statewide efforts are informed by the folks on the ground is we are re-granting to community organizations so that they can participate in a census and civic engagement learning community. And the first year that we did that, we had 11 organizations throughout the state, and due to the generosity of our funders, this year we have 36. Which is really exciting. And so we, when we were kind of deciding like who to bring on board, we were looking at the counties that have the highest N undercount. And we are going to use it for a variety of other purposes, but like that helped us figure out like, you know, we really need to have representation for this county or that one. And I think it will also, it's also helping us figure out gaps. Like, do we have partners in this place that have, you know, deep undercounts or communities that are likely to be undercounted? So in this second iteration of the project, I think that just the ability to go deeper is going to be really exciting to our partners. I think one of the most interesting findings for us, and I can't wait to get my hands on that tableau, is the clustering. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is build like a network of people, because you've got a lot of smaller organizations that don't have tons of resources, right? Like if you work in a small nonprofit, you wear 17 hats. But if we can look at clusters and people can see that in different zip codes that the populations that they're working with are very similar, then that I think is a way that people can continue to build networks and that we can really make sure that our limited resources are getting the biggest bang for their buck. So I'm really excited to go deeper into the clustering work and share that with our partners. I think this is just also another resource to build on, and I think one of our next projects that we really want to look at is kind of quantifying a few of the larger federal programs that are impacted by the census and bringing that information to folks. So this is just like another fantastic tool in our toolbox as we move forward and we build some advocacy tools. I think it will really help with targeted messaging and where we're going to do those things. And I mean, my dear friend Dave always says good data asks more questions than it answers, and so I think this will really lead to some excellent and robust conversations as we continue this really important work. So thanks again, appreciate it.
Next we invite Ronnie.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ronnie Graham. I'm the pro bono director for the Florida Health Justice Project, where we believe that healthcare is a human right. Obviously, as Michael, John, and Rebecca showed you all, it's not a right that is enjoyed by all. I would like to thank Dr. Karthik and Dr. Dan for leading Michael, John, and Rebecca. I want to keep saying their names. I know specifically that John and Michael are looking for jobs, and I can't speak to all of the interns. I know that they did a great job by how prepared they were, but I personally witnessed Michael's, John, and Rebecca's passion, interest, and explaining data to individuals like myself who is an attorney very well, so kudos to them. As a part of the project, we were looking into the Medicaid coverage gap. As some may know, Florida is only one of few states that have not decided to expand Medicaid in order to cover those in the coverage gap, which has left many Floridians uninsured. This project will help us be able to look directly into the different counties so that we can do targeted advocacy efforts. It was actually quite exciting for me to hear from the representative from the mayor's office say that one of their first questions is, well, what does the data show? And now we will be able to show this data directly to the different legislators. We also plan to use this information to further educate individuals who are not just legislators, but who may be willing to join us and want to advocate with us. Additionally, we just got done with a federal trial against the state of Florida. I think that we would have loved to have this data for that trial as well. Some of the next steps that we see for in using this program is, and this is from our executive director, Allison Yeager, who's a phenomenal woman. She said that we will look to further collaborate with data scientists to refine our approaches and continue to monitor the impact of any policy changes we advocate for. This partnership has reaffirmed for us the power of data in driving social justice, data to action. And we are committed to making it a core part of our strategy moving forward. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. And let's just give a big applause for our company partners. When we are soliciting for projects, we do reach out to all of the consortium, nonprofit consortium that is there around the state, across the I-10, 75, 95, and I-4 corridors too. And again, it does take some time and courage for nonprofit individuals to reach out and propose a project and work through a process. So it does take a lot of time and work from their end too. So let's give them one more round of applause before we reach out to the next stage. Okay. So we're going to give our WSG staff to get few minutes for them to get the chairs up, and then we're going to move on to our Q&A round. So only individuals in the room in here can ask questions. So, and interns will be coming and sitting in here, community partners will be coming and sitting in here. You can ask any questions to either of them. So we will have 2 mics floating around in the floor, and please keep in mind that we are recording this event, and whoever is asking questions, we would want them to ask the questions in the mic. So when you have a question to ask, you can raise your hand, and one of our student volunteers will bring the mic to you, right? So now I'll be the backstage managing who's really asking the questions and indicating the volunteers to go with them. So in that sense, we will ask you for patience, and now I'd like Dr. Rishad to take over this section.
So you all can ask questions of our student interns if you have questions about the projects or just about some of the things that they've been doing in their own programs. Or if you have questions for our community partners, you can ask them and do that. But I guess, do we have someone already identified or? All right, I can kind of get us going here, get the conversation started. And so this question is for the interns, and maybe some of you, not all of you, need to respond. But what was one sort of big reveal, big takeaway for you all going through this internship? I know many of you are in data science field, some of you are in the social sciences field. We always feel like there's something new to learn whenever you do some type of social good project. So any of the interns want to kind of share something? Yeah.
Hello, my name's Rebecca. I am in health science, and one of the biggest things I learned from our project is that men are actually the most uninsured population in Florida as compared to women. In health science, a lot of the times we see women obviously have a high risk of breast cancer. Women are at high risk of this, maternal child health, all this stuff. We rarely see men being the subject. So having this revealed that men are actually more likely to be uninsured in Florida was insane to us.
Hello, everyone. So coming from a psychology major perspective, this internship was really difficult at first because I'm so used to a conceptual approach to data. Coming from a data-driven approach was something that I was totally unfamiliar with, and I had a lot of pushback towards that. But I think it's really interesting. I think that there are different situations where a data-driven approach and a conceptual-driven approach are appropriate, but especially when we're talking about a lot of these societal issues, a data-driven approach can really influence your end result a lot. Because as Rebecca just mentioned, conceptually she didn't know that result would happen, but the data told her that's the way. And so we can miss out a lot coming from purely a conceptual approach.
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about the JALA project is that it's not necessarily like confined to people who are low income. It's all across the income ladder. We had a lot of interest in results with the veterans status where even low income people, where they weren't necessarily low income and they weren't necessarily low educational attainment. I think, at least from my perspective, is that like housing is a right, in my opinion. That's my perspective, not anyone else. But because I grew up with a single mother, we fortunately had a really good landlord who was very kind to us and very understanding of us. But And without that consistent housing, I wouldn't be on the stage. I wouldn't be working in this field. I would be in a much worse situation. So it really highlights a lot of the great work that Jala's doing. And my hope is that you can help more people in Jacksonville be able to get to where I am with, hopefully, really good legal assistance. So thank you.
I actually want to speak to CAP, if that's okay. As a former educator and a former student of the arts, I always really liked hearing project updates from you all. Firsthand, being in the classroom, I saw that my students who were engaged in the arts really benefited from that. You know, they looked forward to their concerts, they looked forward to their presentations of their art projects. And seeing that come alive in the data and in the report cards that you're working on for your clients and our schools meant a lot to me as someone who had spent a lot of time with those students and in those programs. So I really like the work that you did and the work that you're doing as well. So thank you for that.
So I actually can speak to that in a sense that I was pretty scared about this before I got up here. But after I presented and the adrenaline wore off, no, I'm kidding, no. So after that, I was looking up at our visuals and it clicked that like, we made that. Like, we did that. And for me, I'm a computer scientist. I've always, I see the world as numbers. It's always been numbers to me. Everything is numbers. But also, I've always taken a creative approach to that. And I feel like this experience and as a whole, like, as with CAP, as with arts in general, the value of it, if you don't include that, you're going to be missing out on a lot. And so being able to do that is really powerful. So yeah, I could keep talking, but I'm going to give the mic back.
Any questions from the audience that we want to?
Anyone wants to ask a question? Oops.
Hi, great work for all of you, honestly. It's so cool to see so much great data and research put live in Jacksonville. Like, we are a great city that does so many cool things. I'm curious to know what drives each of you into social good specifically, with your skill sets and basis in math and computer science and data analysis. What made you guys choose to pursue nonprofit work? Thank you.
As I said, it was like my mother, right? So yeah, I'm always conscious of where I am, and I'm very grateful for where I am. But if a couple variables in my life, or sorry to use a data science term, a couple variables in my life went differently, I would not be able to do a lot of the great work that I do now. And that's incumbent on me to be able to not pull the ladder up behind me, but to kind of keep it down and lend a hand up. Yeah, I would say from my perspective, I don't really get to like opt out. I like to be able to help people, I suppose. So.
I would say I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with legal aid prior to this, and working firsthand with clients that are in dire need of help, it really adds value to the work that you're providing. And the work that I've done with legal aid, and it's actually coincidence that we had Jala as a project this year. It really helped me, but it's really great to kind of see the result. And I know that Jala, with how innovative that they are as a legal aid organization, they'll continue to grow and improve on their intake systems and really their business processes in general to make sure that they can reach as many clients as possible. And having that link and that connection to that work and the success that I know Jala will encompass just really adds value to my work, and it fills my heart with joy. Yeah.
Not money. But Honestly, what got me into liking to work with nonprofits is there's so many people in the world who are sitting in their cubicles every day, typing in their numbers, doing data for their companies that are making impacts. You can make impact on so many things, so many not so great things, depending on who you are, and so many really amazing things. But it's just being able to sit down at a computer and feeling the impact you're making, seeing Ronnie's face every single time I told him one data point. It was absolutely insane. He kept saying, I just want to dig my hands into this. Seeing that impact that it would make on people and knowing that it's not just going to make impacts on that company, but then they're going to make impacts on hundreds of people, that's what really got me into it.
I want to turn that question around to our community partners. So we have, data scientists that then kind of turn to the social good side. And so what makes someone who's involved in social good turn to the data science side? Any thoughts about that?
So part of it, and I'm sorry our City of Jacksonville folks left, but part of it is the communication and using the data to our elected officials. Okay, so when you, and that we have a person here in the front row who is personal experience with that as well, but when you have folks who come to that position, who are sitting on city council, for example, or in their mayor's office or serving in Tallahassee, they come to that position with an enormous amount of preconceptions. They think the world works like this, and in reality, the world works a different way. And one of the things that I talk about constantly is the fact that Florida is one of only 7 states without a state income tax, right? We share that, Texas, Tennessee, others. And those other states do different things with their low-income workers. Texas does different things with their low-income workers who work in their oil and energy industries than we do with our low-income workers who work in our tourism industry, which is a reason why I don't pay state income taxes. And so part of this is using the data to drive the message, to change the assumptions that many elected officials show up with because they haven't been challenged by the data in the past. I think that's a super helpful part of this project also for us. I don't know if you guys have any. No? Apparently I'm the only one.
Well, I would just like to speak on why I chose a nonprofit as a lawyer, as well as why data. Why did we decide to work with you all? Why did I choose a nonprofit as a lawyer? I originally came out targeting big law firms. Had the pleasure of working with some and getting interviewed by many. Recognized one face who is a great man who I think has been able to be in big law as well as be in the community better than anyone I've ever seen. For me, I'm from Lake City, Florida, Columbia County. Thank you for the team for showing that data. But I started representing mostly companies, and I used to tell my grandma, hey grandma, if you fail in Winn-Dixie and you wanted me to represent you, I'm sorry, I would probably be representing Winn-Dixie. And I wanted an opportunity to do more of my legal work, and so I joined the Public Defender's Office, and now I'm with the Florida Health Justice Project. And every single thing that we do and every single day, we are actively helping individuals. The stories that were shared today are just some of the few. There are mothers who are calling us concerning their child who just lost Medicaid. So I just would like to encourage anyone and everyone, if you have the opportunity to do good, please do it. And there is money in the nonprofit space. It is growing. As far as why did we choose to to partner with UNF for the data, as the intern said, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of variables. We get data so much from the Florida Health Charts and from other sources, and quite honestly, we don't know what to do with it. So the opportunity to work with you all and to create the visualizations and the insight will be very helpful for us moving forward.
So I know Gina has to leave, so I will ask her to step out if she wants. But if anyone have one last question, we can do it. So this will be the last question from the audience.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabe Hamda, so I wanted to be seen and heard. That's why I'm standing up. So I'm a social enterprise or a social entrepreneur, defined as doing good and doing well. I love making money, and I love to make a difference. So that's kind of a little bit about me. So I think I have an idea for maybe the next project. I'm really interested in creating bipartisan solutions in our community. When I think earlier Ronnie may have spoken about data to prove a point, to make advocacy. If I'm talking to people who sound like me, who support my position, that's one success. But there are people who don't agree with me, and I'm really interested in to hear that solution, because in my view, the big data we're talking about is what gave us algorithms, so that feeds my views and feeds someone else their views, so that we are polarized as a society. So I want to hear how we can create a bipartisan solution so that the solutions we come up with are sustainable. In a partisan society, when one group wins, one solution wins. And when the other group wins, the other solution wins. So we're always fighting one another. So I just want to hear any solutions, maybe potentially next project on this, and I'll be all over it. Thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
So what I'm hearing is just the power of data to make change and to inform, and so and to work, in across aisles and across organizations. And so I don't know, Lucy, you want to try to address, like, how do you make change with big data?
I think I get the wonderful question, don't I? I'm just actually thinking back when we first started on this project, perhaps 3 years ago. One of the answers, we surveyed principals to ask, how much do you spend on the arts per student? Or how much do you actually have after all of the needs at the schools? And it was between the range of a penny and $3.99. And that was about 52% of principals. That was a couple of years ago. And having that piece of data, we shared it. And in some ways, it helps support the passing of the millage referendum. And that is why it's so important, because 12.5% of the funds now is going towards the arts and also athletics. And schools are getting new band uniforms. There are new instruments. There are modernization of the theaters. So all of these things are so important. And how did it come from? It stemmed from one piece of data. So that is why this work is so important, and that is how we can drive change in our community.
I wanted to make one quick point in answer to your question, though, and I think these students and your corporate partners are a perfect example of this. The data has to be vetted, right? We live in a world now, very soon, or if it hasn't already happened, where AI can be used to transform a lot of our communication, and not necessarily in a positive way. But the folks who are the safeguard of making sure that our data is replicable, that it's understandable, that it's been reviewed for accuracy, are sitting up here on this stage and working in leadership at UNF. So I think they play a central role in getting to the society you envision, because part of what is so easy for folks to do is say, oh, I don't believe your data. It's up to folks like this, and especially the way they presented it today, going through very granularly and showing you how the human is represented by the data point that is going to be so critical going forward.
Great, excellent. Thank you all for our panelists. Appreciate you very much. So now we'd like to invite Kevin Hyde to the stage, the UNF Board of Trustees, for some closing remarks.
I'll just stay down here, and they will be brief. I know everyone's ready to go. Thank you all very much. This has just been outstanding. Oh, okay. I was trying to stay off camera, Karthik.
And you should have brought a visual aid.
I don't have any props. I didn't bring the Osprey mascot or anything. But on behalf of UNF, we are very excited. And a couple of perspectives, Jim mentioned this. I, for many years, was on the city council back when there really wasn't a lot of data. And so we operated many times with misconceptions. And when I was president of the city council, it would have been nice to be able to reach out and get that kind of data. And Ronnie, I'm still mad at you for not joining my law firm when I recruited you. But I want to talk real briefly about UNF. We are very focused on our role in not only the community in Northeast Florida, but advancing throughout the state university system. We are currently an R2 research institution, and we are moving to R1. That's part of our strategic plan. We are going to need work like you all are doing and our other professors and faculty and administration staff to reach that goal. It's a very ambitious goal. We think it's important not only for the university, but for our region. Jacksonville is a growing region as we all understand it. We have a goal to grow our student population to 25,000 from 17 in 3.5 years remaining. So, and the reason we're doing that is because our community is demanding it. We have the need in the population. So the Board of Trustees, that's what we've tasked the administration with. We are constantly speaking to our legislators about the need to support that, and things are going well. But the type of work you all are doing is something that we can go to the legislature, we can go to our community and say, this is the type of work that needs to be funded. It has a meaningful impact in our community and statewide. And so thank you for what you all are doing. And thank you, Karthik and Dan, for leading this effort. I look forward to seeing what goes on next year. And again, we appreciate it very much. Thanks. Thank you.
So with this, we are coming to the end. So I just want to highlight it. So UNF is one of the sponsors. Actually, they provide more money than other partners that were funding us this year. So in that sense, administrators supporting us and providing funds to us keeps us going. It's one of the reasons why we are continue to keep doing this, even though it is really hard for me and Dan to continue to do these things. So with that, to fully really close it, so now UNF has started doing digital batches. So UNF started actually doing digital batches only this year, while as a DSSG, this is the first time we will be issuing batches. So we haven't issued any batches actually, but as UNF together, UNF has issued already 10,000 batches. So next week, UNF will be celebrating that 10,000 milestone. So in that milestone, now 12 individuals will be joining. And now you can see why they will be getting those batches. So now we can use this opportunity to congratulate them for one more time to getting the digital badge, which they will be sometime in September. I think you guys will be receiving this digital badge, which now they will be able to display it in their online profiles, particularly in the LinkedIn. All right, so I was looking for a claps. So with that, again, we have to continue to do this. It does take money. So in the sense, Dan, we are volunteering. All of the faculty members who are helping us are volunteering. All the industry members are volunteering. So the funds really goes as a stipend for the interns. So the other things as a DSSG we do is do this hackathon event. So this is the third time we'll be doing it, and it will happen like in 48 hours at the last week of September, as long as we don't get any hurricanes. So this time we are inviting students from across the Northeast Florida. So anyone students who is willing to drive down and stay for 48 hours in an event location, they are welcome to do. We are not going to pay them for their hotel. But they can, if they can manage themselves, it would be good. And we are partnering with Google, who's going to be the cloud service provider for those events. So with that, we will be hosting the event at Link, which is Raghu Mishra is the owner of the Link. He himself is providing a problem set, and LiskJax will be the other agency that will be providing the problem set. So with the Link, the students will be able to work for continuously. If they want to nap, we will have a napping room, and they can even take shower to get ready before the Sunday final presentation. So it's going to be a good opportunity for us to use Link. So with that, so those community partners who may be listening this later on, this is the timeline. So we will be opening up the solicitation process in middle of January, and pretty much in the same time period is when we will be opening up the application process for the student interns too. So with that, thank you. So, and we hope to see you all in other UNF events. Thank you. So with that, we're going to do big group pictures. So anyone who have been speakers or community partners who are in the project, if you and the mentors, other old alumni, DSSG alumni, if you can come and join us for quick big group pictures, we will appreciate that. And we will like one of the staff members to come and remove the chairs so that we can do a group pictures. Can you just remove the chairs and put it down? Yeah, we're going to stay.